Hey everybody, Alex from SCADA Forge here. In this video, we're going to wrap up buttons in Vision with the Tabstrip component. Typically, this is used in Vision for navigation, as well as if you want to show multiple tabs on a screen and be able to cycle through those. First, we're going to dive into navigation because that's the most common use case for this. First, we're going to add a new docked window. This will keep this window open in our Vision client the whole time that it's open, and we can pick if we want it on the top, left, bottom, or right of the window, and how big we want that to be. If it's north or south, that'll be the height of the window. If it's west or east, that'll be the width of the window. So we're going to create a new window here. And we'll see we selected north, so that gives us a height of 125 pixels for our window here. Now in Vision, we also need to specify which windows we're going to open when the Vision client opens. To do that, we're going to right-click on the window and go to select Open on Startup. And we'll see that gives us a little play button here that window will open on startup. I also added a couple windows here previously, just window 1 and window 2 with a label on them that we can use to demonstrate navigation. To show how that works, we'll also set the Vision Display Components window here to open on startup. So we'll open the docked window and the Vision Display Components window on startup. Now to add navigation with a Tabstrip, we go down to the Buttons section of the component palette, select Tabstrip, and drag that to our root container and drop. Now that will give us a tab strip. If we want to adjust height and size and everything and layout of this, we can do that. Similar to all the other components, we'll just make it as tall as the window and as wide as the window for our purposes here. We'll rename our component so we can see it in the window. And we'll see we have a number of properties here, including the common properties. Our behavior mode is for navigation is either swap to window or disabled. In this case, we'll leave that as swap to window because we want to use this for navigation, and that'll handle that functionality for us already. We have our tab data table here that we can go through and modify our tab data if we want through that. And then we can also set our appearance settings here. And this will also give us a selected tab value. That will be useful when we look at using this for containers and things. To manage a tab strip, since this is a more advanced component, we can right-click and go to Customizers, Tab Strip Customizers. And that will bring up our tab strip customization window. We can also double-click on the component to bring that up. That will give us different orientation options depending on how we want to orient this. A lot of times we would have maybe a navigation on the left side of the window. We can orient this on the left side. In this case, we'll just leave it on top since this is a docked window that's going to be on top of our other windows. Our navigation mode property is set to swap windows, which we want for now. Size mode is automatic. If we want to set the size of the tabs individually, we can, and we can create some different styles here as well. Currently, we have 3 tabs set up. If we want to add a tab, we can add a tab, we can remove a tab, and we can move the selected tab to the right or the left of the existing tabs. And then we have some other options for text alignment as well. So to adjust the tab properties, you select the tab in the window here. We can give it a display name that we want it to be set to. In this case, we'll call it window 1. That'll update our text up here. We'll call this one window 2. And we'll call this one display components. We can also select different values for visibility and style when it's selected or unselected, and give it a hover color and mouse over text, and edit those on a per tab basis if we want to. Since we're using this for navigation mode, we come here and we simply select which window we want this to navigate to when the user clicks on this tab in the window name property here. And this will give you access to all your windows that you have available in your Vision module section of the project browser. So that's basically setting that up for navigation. So we hit OK. We will save changes. And now we will go to launch a Vision client. We could also do this in the designer if we go to play mode, but this will give us a view of what we're actually going to see. So when we open the client, we're going to open the Tabstrip docked window and the Vision display components window. So we can go to Tools, Launch Project, just launch windowed. And that will pull up our Vision client here. And I have this set to auto login, so we won't see a login screen just for this video. You can do that under your project properties. So now we see our Vision display components window popping up. If we click window 1, we'll see our window 1, window 2, and display components. If we were setting this up in a real project, we would set our project or our client size, and we would make this window be the width of that. It just shows up in the center, and this window down here is larger than our Tabstrip, so it's like we see the 146.46 GPM is extending over to the left here. But when we get into developing a project more than just looking at components, we'll navigate and set that up. So we can simply close out of the client here, and we go back to the designer. So now let's set up a new main window. We'll just call this Tabstrip. We'll drag a Tabstrip over to our root container. We'll just put it up at the top and we'll center it. Now what we can do here, since we're not going to use this for navigation, we'd set swap to window to disabled. And then we will be able to use the selected tab property. If we go to play, we see that updates based on what our selected tab is here. So tab 3 is selected, tab 2 selected, tab 1 selected. That will allow us to set other properties on other components that we can use to show different data based on which tab is selected. Commonly, this would be, maybe we have a Vision template we'll talk about in future videos, set up, and based on which tab is selected, we can choose to pass in different parameters. Maybe we're looking at a different piece of equipment with each tab. In this case, we will use the containers component in Vision. Here under containers, we will drag over a new container and just move that with the arrow keys up to the top here. Now this allows us to, under our root container, have another container which is separate from the root container, and we can add items to this container. So let's say we'll just add labels for the time being to show what we're looking at here. If you drag and drop into the container when it's selected, it will highlight in yellow telling you that you're going to drop your component into that container, or if we were to drop outside of that, we go to the root container. So we will put that in the container, make this a little bit wider, and we'll see that that pops up under the container here in the tree, similar to how the Tabstrip is under the root container. And again, we can rename these. We'll just leave them as is for the moment. We'll take our label. We'll make our font size a little bit bigger and make it bold. And we'll give it text of tab 1. Since we're going to really just use this for visualizing what we're doing, we'll just copy and paste our containers here. The first thing we're going to do, though, is set our visible property on this container to an expression. And we're going to use an expression because we want to compare the selected tab value on our tab strip. So we will go to tab strip, selected tab. And we will make this an if statement. If selected tab equals tab 1 true, otherwise false. So now if we go to our tab strip and we select a different tab, it hides our container. And if we go back to that, it shows us the container there. So we will copy paste with Control C, select our root container and hit Control V. And we will place this where we want it to go. And we'll just center that in the window. And we'll create one for tab 3 as well. And center that in the window. Now we will go to our second container and change this to tab 2 for our if statement in our expression. And we will select the third one and change that to tab 3. And then we will go to the label on container 1 and change this to tab 2 to indicate what's selected, and tab 3 on this one to indicate what's selected. Now if we go to play mode, tab 1, tab 2, tab 3. And if we look at our visible property on container 2 here, we'll see that it's true because our expression matches. If we look at container 1, we see that its visibility is set to false, and container 1, or just plain container, is set to false as well for visible. So this is a pretty easy way to build in some basically sub-navigation on your windows in Vision using the tab strip along with some containers. You don't have to use containers for this. You could also add components onto your screen directly and hide or show those based on what you have selected here. But the container allows you to build a complex visualization within the container and then show and hide everything all at one time. So that's how tab strips work in Vision for both navigation and, as I'm calling it, sub-navigation within a window. And you'll see this across a lot of applications, even non-ignition software, where you have different tabs to look at different things in the system. But that covers tab strips in Vision. Thank you for watching.